I totally would have done a commentary. I just want you guys to know that I totally would have done a commentary, but I've been having so many issues with Netflix recently that I didn't want to risk it because I really wanted to talk about Stranger Things and I didn't want to be limited to a commentary style where Netflix would most likely block the entire thing. Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1. The last time I made a Stranger Things video was in my very first apartment. I am on apartment number 3 at this point. So that's how long it's been since the last season came out of Stranger Things. Most of you guys probably don't know, but the first reaction style videos I ever did was to Stranger Things. It was actually to Stranger Things Season 2, and I used to like react to like Stranger Things like fan edit videos on my channel, and that was when I started getting some traction and I was like, what the F? And so then I really went in on Stranger Things. And we have the first 4 episodes of Season 5. It came out on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know why they would do that because I like couldn't watch it that day. And I'm gonna be going through all the episodes and talking to you guys about all the different things that happen in Stranger Things Season 5, episode 1 through 4. Just like most of you did, I watched it in one day, one night even. It only took like 5-6 hours. And speaking of using my time to watch Stranger Things instead of staying up on the phone, making appointments, let's hear a message from today's sponsor, ZocDoc. My biggest pain in life is calling to book any appointment. I'll push it off for weeks until I'm weeks behind on checkups and prescriptions. And this is all because I'd rather book online instead of just calling. With ZocDoc, my procrastination enemy is defeated. And I can book in a couple of clicks without making any phone calls. Avoid all the trial and error of booking and finding your physician with ZocDoc. No matter what type of care you need, ZocDoc has you covered. Whether you're searching for primary care, dental care, even a dermatologist, or mental health, ZocDoc has you covered. It's a one-stop shop for all your healthcare needs. No need to call a doctor's office or wait on hold either. ZocDoc lets you do everything online. My hero. Need a doctor close by? Maybe a network? And a specific appointment time? Use the ZocDoc search filters to find your perfect match and meet all your healthcare needs as simply and fast as possible. And ZocDoc appointments also happen fast. This means they're getting you in the doctor's office within 24 to 72 hours. And sometimes you can even score a same-day appointment. And no waiting on the phone or getting sent to 5 different people. Just a calendar of availability and times to pick from. With a few clicks, you're booked. And did I mention that ZocDoc is a free website? It sounds too good to be true, but it is. You can make life that much easier and start making your health your #1 priority in life. ZocDoc has tons of verified patient reviews and detailed profiles on every doctor on the site. So this means you can get a real sense of the physician before you book. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Trin Lovell, or you can click my link in the description to find and instantly book a top-rated physician today. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get back to it. And without further ado, let's get into the video. We have so much to cover in this video, so I'm not gonna bother you with anything else. Episode 1 starts, and we are in a bit of a time jump. Elle has grown out her hair, so that's how you know that it's been a long period of time. The Byers are now living with the Wheelers because the Byers don't have a house anymore because they sold it when they moved to California, but then they moved back to Indiana, and now they live with the Wheelers. Holly's got a new look, aka Holly Wheeler, which we had seen in previous seasons, and now looks like she's being introduced as a new character. Robin and Steve are at a new job. They are now hosting a radio show, and through this sequence of Robin and Steve hosting their radio show at their new job, they go into the details of the state that Hawkins is in. We end season 4 on the government saying that there was a massive earthquake that had hit Hawkins, but we know it was because of Elle and Vecna's fight that basically like tore the earth apart in a sense and killed a bunch of people in the process. You know, little like gateway open to the upside down, you know, that type of stuff. Robin states that Hawkins is under a military surveillance and that there's actually a quarantine zone where we can assume that they are going in and out of the upside down. Robin and Steve and their radio station is actually located within this quarantine zone. Side note, Robin also talks about having a partner within this radio show. She talks about dedicating a song to a special someone. The radio show gets cut off and Steve calls Dustin for help, and Dustin says, fuck off. And let's talk about Dustin, because what better time to talk about Dustin than the present? Dustin, Mike, Lucas, and Will are all still in high school. I'm assuming they're about sophomore year. Dustin seems very unlike himself that we had seen him in prior seasons. He is gloom, he is down, he is walking very sulkingly through the hallways. He has his Hellfire shirt still on and a big long beige trench coat. Due to still repping Hellfire Club, which had been associated and deemed as a satanic ritual club that had started a killing spree that Eddie Munson had been accused of and found guilty of, the new school bullies of Stranger Things season 5 have entered the picture. They always have a new group of fresh bullies that have just been like sitting in the background waiting to pounce on these kids. For season 4, we had the California bullies, we had bullies at Hawkins High, we've had bullies in season 1 through 3. We always have a bully there. Like, they're never not gonna have a bully scene. And it's always so like stereotypical bully, like,
get out of this town. What are you doing wearing that shirt here? You're a freak.
And before Dustin is beat up by the new Letterman wearing bullies, someone comes in and exudes the best aura ever. It's our freaking champion, Lucas. Lucas comes in and he's like, don't mess with him. And I just love to see Lucas in this role. I think that he's always had this very strong, confident attitude. His least confident era was in season 4 when he was struggling with playing both sides of his original friend group and his new friend group, aka the basketball team. That was where we definitely saw him struggling a lot with his identity and his confidence. And due to the things that have happened in season 4, you can really see him grow into his own character within season 5 and really find that confidence within his decisions, where I think he struggled with a lot in season 4 and is even seen talking to Max about how he should have known what was going on and he should have stepped up and he should have been the one that she could have gone to. Like, I'm loving seeing him in this more confident, strong role and actually acting on these behaviors that we always knew he wanted to do. So Dustin is now not fun, and Lucas and Mike and Will are just kind of like, why is he doing that? Why does he antagonize them? Why does he like let them get to him like that? I just have to agree. I hate to be with the herd on this one, but I did not like any of Dustin's scenes this season, this volume of the season. And it really wasn't even to do with the fact that he was grieving. I think that everybody understands that he was grieving. I think if it was a character that we all liked more, in my opinion, from my personal opinion, I was never like an Eddie stan. Eddie, baby, I just saw Steve. I was never that big of a fan of him or had this like personal connection that I think a lot of other people did. And so seeing a character grieve so hardly about him is a disconnect for me. And it's not saying that it's impossible, but usually you find the grief in characters a little bit better when it's this person that everybody knows and everybody kind of like loved. Like, I think Bob was a really good character that we saw people grieve heavily over because he was this lovable character and he had a lot of connections to Joyce and Jonathan and Will, and he was there and he saw everybody. But while watching this, all I could be reminded of is that like Will doesn't even know who Eddie is. 11 doesn't even know who the F Eddie is. Like, that's all I could think about. And it's not saying that like Elle has to know who the person is that died for me to care about them grieving, but it's just like, it's like when Barb died, it's like, okay, only Nancy cares. Like, nobody else cares. Like, nobody else even liked Barb. Though, who is Barb? We had 2 seconds with her character. And that's how I feel about Eddie, because if you watch season 4, you realize that like there's a significant amount of time where he's not there because he's out like hiding on the run for being accused of murder. And I don't know, I guess it's just my dislike of Eddie. I don't have any emotion towards that character. So I guess seeing someone be an asshole to everyone because of this character that I like didn't give a fuck about. Also, Eddie was 20 years old still in high school. They show his grave. He was 20 years old. Rape. While we're in the high school, we see a missing persons poster, almost like a wanted poster, and it is 11, known as Jane. We see that the government really wants Elle and they're on the hunt for her. They're chasing people and people that they don't even know that is Elle, and they are hunting them down and then being like, this is not even Elle.
Why are we chasing this random person?
Girl, I don't know. And then we cut to a scene of Elle training. We see her running, jumping, using her powers, and we see this little evolution of her powers, the way she's able to aim and direct her powers and actually target them rather than just using them when it is absolutely necessary. We really see the extent of how they're able to shape her powers, and we can see how she's using them to not only move objects but move her force and use that momentum and force to launch herself even. Through this scene, we have Hopper and Elle kind of having a back and forth on what's going on. You have Joyce being really supportive of Elle and saying that she's doing a really good job, but you see Elle kind of pushing back, saying that she needs to push herself, and Hopper kind of being like, the time is what the time is, and she's like, no, I can do better, I can do better. And we can already start to see this tension between Elle and Hopper from that moment. Long story short, from the beginning of the first episode, they're prepping for Vecna's return. With Elle and Hopper training, you have the boys living on their kind of daily lives, and then you have the young adults at the radio station that is located within the military quarantine zone, where Murray delivers them equipment that they need disguised as a grocery delivery person. Robin sends each group a message from the radio station, which seemingly is their code for something that they call the crawl. She starts playing a song called Upside Down that we all know. Upside down, boy, you turn me. She plays the song Upside Down and then signals to them a time and location for them to meet up to execute the crawl. The crawl is explained as an elaborate plan to get Hopper into the Upside Down to search for Vecna without the government realizing this. They basically use the military's crawl as a way to go and search the Upside Down. They say they've been on over 30 crawls, and this just shows the length of time that it's been and also the amount of searching that they've been doing through this time. We finally get a scene of Holly Wheeler individually. She's at school, she's on the playground, she's getting bullied by this kid Derek, and then everybody gets called back into class and she ends up waving at this figure and walking off into the distance to talk to this person. We see her talking in full conversation, and then a teacher spots her and from the teacher's point of view sees her talking to nobody. This opens an entire plot of Holly, and we see Mike talking to her while she is waiting for her mom to come out of the teacher's office, where he basically asks her if it's still happening, if she's still seeing this person. That she claims that the friend Mr. Whatsit is protecting her and helping her and actually saving people, saving kids like her and Hawkins from being taken by monsters. Mike and Holly actually have a really great scene where Mike talks to her and gives her a little bit of courage and makes her a little less afraid of what's going on by giving her a Dungeons and Dragons character called Holly the Great. He gives her a little pep talk and tries to make her feel a little less alone, even though she's being seen as very weird and very odd and very isolated. Similarly to Will in the first season or second season of Stranger Things, where we had Jonathan talking to him and stating that it's okay that he's weird and he doesn't need to be afraid of being different, that being different is actually better. It was a very similar scene to that, and I really enjoyed that because Holly is kind of in this new Will role of being the little kid that's taken or targeted by Vecna or by the Mind Flayer or by the Demogorgons or whatever you want to say. Back to the crawl, Elle begs Hopper to let her come on the crawl. He basically says no, that he will not let her come. She says that she is more than prepared to go on this crawl with him. He says no. She said, I really want to find Vecna. I'm ready to find Vecna. I can do it. And Hopper says, if you wanted to find Vecna that bad, you would have found him from your tub. That is so crazy. That is actually so crazy. Because it's like, now you're saying I suck? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's such a fucked up thing to do. Like, Elle's been saving everybody the entire time, and now you're like, well, now you can't even find him from your tub. I think a lot of people were focused on Dustin being really unlikable within these first 4 episodes, and in my opinion, I found Hopper to be quite unlikable within these first 4 episodes, and it's not only because he's being a hard ass with Elle and being like very overprotective, similarly to how he was in the beginning of season 3, which was also a little off-putting, but I guess had a little bit more charm because it wasn't talking about great stakes that they are in now. But in my opinion, I think this whole thing where he eventually tells Joyce that the only reason why he doesn't want her down there looking is because the only thing that's down there is not Vecna. It is actually just military guards looking exactly for Elle. In my opinion, I found that to be a strange scene where he tells Joyce and not tell Elle, because Elle's at the point where she's not only old enough, but like smart enough and intelligent enough to understand why that is a problem and why she shouldn't be down there if there are people looking exactly for her to eventually use her. I think that was kind of a weird scene where they were still treating her like a kid, which she is, but it to me, it's really weird with the evolution of Elle and where they've shown her character and where they've shown her character in front of these adults. They've seen the extent of what she's able to do, and I think that she's at the point where you can tell her the actual risks of a mission instead of just being like, no, you can't go, you're not good enough. In my opinion. Back to Dustin for a little bit. He puts a fucking snake in the bully's locker, and then they come out and they're like, what the fuck? And he gets made fun of because it's like not a like dangerous snake, it's just a little corn snake. I don't know why the fuck he does this, because later on he's visiting Eddie's grave that says he was 20 years old when he passed away, so he's 20 years old in high school, whatever. And the headstone has burn in hell on it, very remnants of Carrie, and he's going to remove it to clean his grave, and then obviously the bullies show up there because they know Dustin's obsessed with Eddie, and they basically beat him the fuck up. And it's just hard because it's like, they shouldn't beat you up, but like, why did you put snakes in their locker? Like, why did you do that? Because he ends up missing the entire crawl that they end up going on because he got beat up and he was like left for dead. He also doesn't tell anyone what actually happened. He says he ran into a light pole, which everyone just kind of like lets him get away with saying and like doesn't really interrogate him any further, which I think they should have like 1000% done, especially Steve. For the crawl, everybody meets up. You have Nancy, you have Jonathan, you have Steve, you have Robin, you have Joyce, you have Hopper, you have Elle, you have Mike, you have Will, you have Lucas. This is also the first time we see Elle and Mike in a scene together since the finale of Stranger Things season 4. And it's still up in the air whether or not they're still together. Because in my opinion, season 4 ended with them like all like very much so it together. One of the biggest scenes of season 4 is when Mike is talking to 11 when she's piggybacking and saying to her how much he loves her and how he doesn't care if she has powers or not, and he's loved her since the second that he met her and that he knew that she was going to be such an important role in his life. And that was like the hugest confession ever. And not saying that we got to get to the romance that quickly, but we end up going into season 5 not really knowing where they stand relationship wise. Similarly with Jonathan and Nancy. With Jonathan and Nancy, we have a similar situation where they are not seen together once in season 4, and at the end of it they just kind of say okay. None of their problems that were really deemed in the first episode of season 4 never really come to full fruition within season 4 at all. Jonathan asks her if they're good and they're okay, and she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. She talks to him about like his college admissions letter or his like, you know, acceptance letter, and he lies again to her. And then through the first 4 episodes of season 5, we get a similar thing where like they're just kind of teetering around the fact of like what in the world happened in season 4. The only relationship that seems to still be good is Joyce and Hopper. They're very lovey-dovey. We see them have a little sweet moment before Hopper goes on the crawl where she's like, you better come back, and they're very much lovey-dovey, and it's honestly very cute, and it's very refreshing to see in this season where a lot of the other couples are on the rocks or really undetermined of where they stand. We also see Lucas go visit Max in the hospital. Max is still in a coma from the end of season 4. We see him go and still continue to play Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush for her while she's in the coma. And that's pretty much all we get from her in this episode until later on, which I will get to that. So we see the little operation happen where Hopper sneaks into the convoy that the military is doing into the Upside Down. They basically open the gates, send a bunch of trucks in, and Hopper hops on one of the trucks. That's the whole mission. The one big thing that they have to do is put a tracker on him, and basically what they do is they have this like satellite above Steve's car or the van that they have, and they basically track him through the Upside Down. So like if the Upside Down is like flat with it, they basically almost work like a magnet together where they're trying to track where Hopper is to keep him within the vicinity of the satellite that's tracking him. So what happens in the Upside Down is that the truck comes to a stop, it crashes, and then Elle claims that it's because the soldiers know that he's there. And what really ends up happening is that a Demogorgon comes to the military trucks that have all crashed at this point. And we then start seeing Will have visions of first point of view Demogorgon landscape. So he's basically like possessed with the spirit of a Demogorgon, or not even possessed, he's actually possessing the Demogorgon and seeing through their eyes, and he's seeing them rip all the military guards to shreds. Will faints and the truck that Hopper's in crashes, and the signal they have on Hopper is gone because Steve and Jonathan can't reach him because they can't find where he is. Will is still in Demogorgon POV. He ends up seeing the Demogorgon running towards a certain house within the Upside Down, and the house is the Wheeler house. So he wakes up and he tells Joyce that the Demogorgon is coming for them, and he looks at Nancy.
It's coming for them.
Basically telling her that the Demogorgon is coming for the Wheeler house. What we see is Holly in the house and a Demogorgon breaking through the ceiling of her fucking house and grabbing her. And while I was watching the show and Holly is like sort of being taken by the Demogorgon, and we see that like at one point her shoe slips off. Her shoe slips off, and that's the reason why he can't get her. And the funniest thing happened, I was like, I freaking know those shoes. I know those dang shoes. What I didn't realize was that this pair of shoes was already sent to me by Minnetonka. And when I had gotten these shoes from Minnetonka and they were like their Stranger Things collab, I don't know why I was picturing like the Stranger Things logo or something, or like a color scheme. I was not expecting these, and I was like, what the hell are these? And then I realized that they were Holly's shoes that she was wearing in the show. And I was like, that's actually really cool. And I felt amazing. I put them on and I watched the rest of the show in them. By the way, not sponsored by Minnetonka. They just were kind enough to send these to me quite a bit ago, and I was like, I have no idea what correlation this has to Stranger Things until I watched it and realized Holly was wearing them. Guess who I'm being next year for Halloween? Holly Wheeler. Demogorgon scene at the Wheeler house. This scene is crazy. It is crazy. The Demogorgon is attacking Holly, and she gets away for a moment and she goes into her mom's bathroom where her mom is having a bath. Mind you, mom and dad don't hear what's going on at all when Holly is being attacked by the Demogorgon. Maybe we can give a little, they try to make it seem like they wouldn't be able to hear it. Dad is outside and mom has music playing in the restroom. I just think that if something was coming through your daughter's ceiling, slaying her around, I think you would have heard that. She's screaming for help and nobody hears that, right? Like, at the end of the day, the parents are really the worst. Like, the dad is definitely worse than the mom, but like, they are still very bad parents. Holly finally gets to her mom and then has to go through the entire process of trying to convince her mom that there is a monster attacking her in her room. Her mom is like, no, you're just imagining things. Like, you do have an imaginary friend that we've been talking about. It's not Mr. What's-It. It's not a monster. I'm gonna have my bath and drink a bottle of wine. As she's hugging Holly, she touches the back of her head and realizes that she's bleeding and actually believes that something is attacking her. As a Demogorgon searches the house for them, he goes into the bathroom where they are and they're nowhere to be found, except they're actually in the bubble bath underneath all the bubbles, which is a crazy scene, by the way. I just have to point out, this whole scene in the Wheeler house is actually so crazy and left me very stressed the entire time, and nothing makes me more stressed than someone having to hold their breath underwater. It really does incite some sort of panic within me when I'm watching it, and I just thought it was magnificent. The only reason why he didn't find them in that bathtub is because, guess what? Ted Wheeler calls out for his wife and is like, where the heck are you? Because he hears a commotion that's happening in the house. He didn't hear the commotion when his daughter was screaming, no. And when his daughter was screaming, he didn't come a-running. He took a freaking long time to come in there. Ted goes one-on-one with the Demogorgon, instantly fails, gets slashed in the chest, and is just such a non-issue at that point. I thought he died right here, and I wasn't gonna feel sorry or bad about it at all. I was actually gonna be quite happy if he passed away, because he was just a nuisance throughout the entire series, in my opinion, and didn't really care for his kids or anything that happened to them. Then Karen goes to battle with the Demogorgon. It's this big scene. She's standing there and she's like,
Stay away from my daughter.
Stay away from my daughter.
This is a really interesting scene because usually they say little things to the Demogorgon where they're like, hey, asshole, or like something like that. This was such a like full-fledged sentence to me that like, I know she doesn't know what it is, but like, why are we talking to the Demogorgon? Like, why does it get Demogorgon suddenly like cognitive of what she's saying? Like, and he waits while she's like saying all this when like, from past knowledge of the Demogorgons, like not really waiters. Like they don't really wait. They kind of just attack. Like, in my opinion, they're not ones to just wait until you like finish your little like fuck you speech before them. And I know it was just like one sentence, but it just felt very odd that like the Demogorgon was like, I'm gonna let you finish, of course. And I think this is one of like the biggest issues that people have with this season. It's just that like the Demogorgon just seemed to like really lay it on easy with them through this scene, which they hadn't set up prior that the Demogorgons would be like this. So it just seemed not very consistent with how we've seen Demogorgons in the past. She breaks the wine bottle on the counter and stabs it into his face. We don't really see what happens until Nancy actually gets to the house. Nancy and Elle end up getting to the house and we see Nancy's facial expressions of what she's witnessing, and we see flashes to what actually happened, which was that the Demogorgon slashed her and stabbed her and she is lying on the floor basically bleeding out. I would assume dead. Not dead though. The Demogorgon took Holly to the Upside Down, and while Nancy is looking at her mom and crying, she tells Elle to go after Holly. Elle goes to the little opening that the Demogorgon made to get out and follows the Demogorgon. Mind you, like walking. Not even a little pep in the step for Holly. Like not even a little run. We saw Elle running so quick earlier and she's just like kind of like trotting through the Upside Down, like trotting through the entrance. I was like, a little pep in the step for Holly, okay? Like maybe a little pep in the step for Holly. Both parents make it to the hospital. Both are getting care and seemingly not fully annihilated by this Demogorgon. One of the things I really liked about the Wheeler Demogorgon scene was the fact that they brought a real sense of horror back to the show. I think that was something that a lot of people missed out, especially within season 3 of the show, and we got a lot of it in season 4 with especially the bones breaking and the possession scenes that we had seen. In this episode, I think the horror and fight scene that we got between Karen and the Demogorgon was really well done, and to see them really get beat up was a true horror to the eyes. I don't really know how they survived, and later on Vecna says that he planned that and he didn't fully annihilate them and he didn't fully kill them, but he could have, but he's keeping them alive for Holly. Okay. But even after all 4 episodes, it's still to be determined if they fully survive. The parents. Nancy, Mike, and Luke stay at the hospital. Nancy states that it's their fault that this happened and that they should have told their parents sooner. Nancy says that this is Vecna's vision, that they're being punished for intervening and that he told her that this would happen. This is such a good performance by Natalia. I'm always impressed by her acting. I think she's always been such a great performer within all the season, but in this scene you really see her break down, and I think it has some of like the best line deliveries of the first half of the season within this scene.
Realize his vision to punish us. He did it with Fred and Chrissy and Max, and now it's our turn. And he's not gonna stop until we're drained of every last ounce of suffering.
So I just wanted to give her props because she ate down. Although she's saying this, Lucas intervenes and says that he doesn't believe it's a punishment. He says that Vecna wouldn't have taken Holly or left the parents alive if it were. He reminds all of them of the date, that it's almost the anniversary of the day Will was taken to the Upside Down. He basically says that there is something bigger at hand happening and that this isn't just for getting involved in the situation, that there is something very planned out that's been happening for a very long time. Robin, Will, and Joyce are still at the station trying to make contact with Hopper. Robin tries to figure out what's going on with Will, and she states that he just might be the tethered connection, almost an antenna that only works when Vecna is near, stating that because when he was in California and that when he was further away, he wasn't having these instances with Vecna, but when he's close and nearby, the signal flares and then he starts having more of a connection to Vecna, aka like the Mind Flayer or, you know, the Demogorgons and all that type of stuff. I didn't even mention Steve and Jonathan are together. They were the trackers of the tracker, actually. They were the ones in the car tracking Hopper's tracker in the Upside Down, because that was supposed to be Steve and Dustin, but since Dustin didn't show up because he got beat up, Jonathan actually took the place, so Jonathan's in the car, but their car battery died, so they asked for help to jumpstart the car. Wheeler Dad is in an induced coma, like, okay, Max serve, like, what will his, like, song be to give him peace in his coma? I don't know. Wheeler Mom is in surgery, and Steve and Jonathan start fighting about Nancy. Long story short, Steve says Nancy is unhappy in the relationship, and Jonathan says that Steve keeps trying to show him up ever since he moved back to Hawkins for California. Steve also calls him a freaking bothead and stoner, and that he's lazy.
Yawning, sloppy, lazy.
He didn't say that, but it's what everyone was thinking. It's literally what everyone was thinking. Like, say what you want. I used to love Jonathan's character so much. Like, the first 2 seasons, like, that was, he was everything. Like, I really did love Jonathan's character, and I really don't think until we get to season 4 does he really become kind of this like doofus of a character, which he never really was within the first 3 seasons. I think the greatest part about Stranger Things is that they give everybody such unique abilities in the ways that they're supposed to be the puzzle piece to complete the puzzle, and I don't think that they really gave Jonathan that in season 4, and I'm still waiting for them to give that to Jonathan in season 5. Within the first 4 episodes, he still has the same archetype and still has a similar personality and usefulness that he did in season 4, which I'm really sad to see because I really loved his character. I think that Jonathan shines really brightly in his scenes with Will and with Nancy when he's working a little bit more hand in hand with Nancy, and I think this kind of like weird state that they left him in after season 4 has kind of put his character in the weirdest state, because not only is he in a weird place relationship wise with other characters, with Steve, with Nancy, even a little bit with Will, we don't really see them having that much connection within this season. He's also in a weird state purpose wise when talking about the missions that they end up going on, whereas Steve has a little bit more of a purpose, you have Nancy that has a little bit more of a purpose, and even Will having a lot more purpose than Jonathan. So not only do these characters have relationship qualms, just like every other character in the show, they also have a little bit more purpose when talking about Vecna and the whole mission that they end up going on. Also in this scene, Dustin ends up finding Jonathan and Steve and basically explaining to them that he ran into a light bulb and that's why he was not there. Elle and Hopper have a fight in the Upside Down where Elle is basically saying that they need to do XYZ or do whatever that she wants to do, and he tells her that she's being irresponsible and how Hopper doesn't trust her instincts. And I just find this to be really weird. I don't know. I think it's normal, and I think that in a sense it's like this protective side of Hopper, but I think that it would make more sense if more of Eleven's actions have put them in harm's way. You know, if she had kind of always went off instinct and put them in harm's way a lot of the times, but after just watching the 4th season, I really don't see that happening, and I think she was in more of like a rebellious phase within season like 3 or maybe 2. 2 is really her rebellious phase where she runs off and is completely like void of care of what the repercussions are for when she just leaves. But I find it weird for Hopper to be saying this to her when we really don't see her exhibit much of irresponsible behaviors or immaturity or faulty instincts, you know? I think that they needed to show that more if they wanted to have him have this speech, because it doesn't really make sense why he's preaching so hard to her. And I think that's what I really struggle with Hopper's scenes, and I think I just wish we see a little bit more of where he's coming from aside from just being like overprotective, because I think there's only so much you can do with that, and there's already so much we've seen of that. I think it would be actually interesting if we saw it a little bit on the flip and we saw Elle being a little bit more protective of Hopper, being as that she lost him once already and that he was dead for like such a long time in her life, and she really thought he was dead and really thought he was gone. I mean, she says that she always knew that he was going to come come back, XYZ, whatever. But in a sense, he died, and like to have her be a little bit more protective of Hopper would have actually been kind of a cool switch dynamic to this, and have actually seeing her maybe even ask him to not go on the crawl because she's so worried about his safety. We have a really great scene of Lucas when he's at the hospital for like the Wheelers, but he actually goes and visits Max and basically tells her about what's going on and updates her, and basically like begs for her to like come back because they need them and how much he misses her. And I just found this to be a very sweet scene. I have always loved Lucas and Max, and I've always loved them since season 2 when they were like hinting at it. I've always loved their connection and their chemistry. I just always thought it was so sweet, and I still really love it. And I literally just watched before filming this the end of season 4, and I cried. I did cry because just like when she's talking to him and she's like, I can't see anything, I can't feel it, and I'm not ready to go yet, like please, like I'm so scared, like oh my god, he's crying and he's, oh my god, I cried, I really cried. And then Eleven's right next to them bawling her eyes out, they don't even know that she's right there. Like I was so upset, and I was getting ready to film this video, doing makeup, crying, because their scenes together, and I just can't handle them. And just seeing him still be so connected to her and never leaving her side, and like still always updating her and never leaving her behind. It's so amazing, and it just goes to show, like, you know, his evolution, especially from season 4 when he feels so guilt-ridden that he wasn't there for her. Seeing him really really commit to that, being there for her even through this time is just like amazing. And I love like Lucas and Max, like they are the GOATs. Like they are like the power couple. Like I don't really care what you say. I don't care about Nancy and Jonathan. I don't care about Elle and Mike. It's always gonna be Lucas and Max. Sorry. Robin plans to use Will's antenna or whatever connection he has to the Upside Down and Vecna to try and find Elle, Hopper, and Holly in the Upside Down. Nancy and Mike are attempting to go speak to their mom and see if she has any information about Holly's disappearance. And Robin and Will go back to places that he disappeared or places where he found connection to the Upside Down. Also, there's like an entire scene where like Will catches Robin and Vicky, aka her girlfriend, at the hospital, like giggling and then like sharing a kiss, and they have a conversation about what Will saw at the hospital, and they start building up a little bit of conversation around romance and sexuality, but we don't get there yet. Like, calm down, like we're not there yet. We'll get that later. Will gets a vision of children laughing and the sky spinning, and this is actually something that we saw Holly actually doing earlier on in the episode 1, I believe, where she's on one of those spinning like things that are at children's playground, and we see her just going around and around and around. We actually see Will get a vision of what it would be like Holly POV. So we have this big revelation scene between Robin and Will at the playground trying to connect the dots, and then Mike and Nancy with their mom while she's telling them more information about Holly and where she might have gone. Mike and Nancy tell their mom that they believe what took Holly was actually Mitzer Whatsit, the imaginary friend that she had been telling everybody about since the beginning of the season. On the other hand, while Will and Robin are talking, they're trying to figure out what Will's connection is to Vecna and the children. He states that Vecna invades the minds of his victims, and Will says he saw through Holly's eyes, meaning that he was seeing through Vecna's eyes, meaning that there's some sort of connection between him and the visions that he's able to see. Mike and Nancy ask Karen if Mr. Whatsit had a name, and she spells out Henry. We get this reveal of Henry speaking to Holly in the playground, or as some people call him, One, or Vecna, or whatever you want to call him. I call him Henry. And Henry tells Holly that he'll save her friends, her family, and he will save her from all the monsters if she comes with him. And he takes her to the house that we saw him grow up in season 4. The American Horror Story-esque murder house mansion that we see. And that's where we end the episode. Not with Holly in the deep, dark bounds of the Upside Down. We actually see her willingly going with Henry to his house. The only other thing that we saw from this episode was Elle and Hopper coming across a wall that was like covered in like boils and goo, and it was like branches, and it just looked really freaking disgusting. And Elle states that the wall must be the reason why she can't find Vecna or Holly from her usual piggybacking that she does within the tub. Elle and Hopper attempt to break down the wall, which is very unsuccessful. Elle can't do with her mind, Hopper can't do with force. It's a whole lot of nothing. Joyce finds Will and Robin because Robin had told Joyce that they need to do something, but she actually took him somewhere else because they had a plan, yada, yada, yada. She yells at Robin, says that he's her son and that he was supposed to stay at the station and he's not supposed to be out of her side and XYZ. And Will low-key eats her up. He's like, your plan sucked. Like, it was not gonna work. Our plan actually freaking worked.
It sucked.
They allude to Joyce being very overprotective of Will in this season, about how she's like, I don't want him doing any part of the mission. Like, he's not supposed to be doing that. Like, she wouldn't let him like control the antenna that like Jonathan did in the car with Steve, because she was like, no, he has to stay safe here. He cannot leave my sight, basically. And this, I would be so okay with this, because granted, the amount of stuff that has happened to Will within the show is like crazy, but Joyce fully leaves them in California by themselves with no guardian other than stonerhead Jonathan to take care of them. And Will was like definitely in danger, like maybe not worse than like when he was actually taken by like a Demogorgon and taken to the Upside Down in the first season, but like I would say that leaving him in California all by themselves without any real guardian is like probably like the worst thing you did, right? Like, not the worst thing you did, but like, I mean, you can't go from like just jumping ship to Russia to go find Jemans, and then come to season 5 and be like, oh my god, I'm so overprotective of Will and I just care about what happens to him so much. Like, Will was not on the brain when you were in Russia. I know Will was not on the brain when you were in Russia for sure. The next scene we see is actually Henry lurking and looking at a little boy that goes by the name of Derek in the classroom. And when I was going into this season and I was thinking about all the plot lines, and I had seen what some people were saying online about Henry being a pedophile, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I watched the season and I was like, I don't really know. I don't know why I was just like, I wonder how he's going to be shown as like kind of like this pedophilic allegory. And the scene of him just staring at Derek alone was enough to be like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And the way he talks about children later on makes a lot of sense why it's a allegory for pedophilia. And I honestly think it's a pretty blatant one at that I don't really know how I was I don't even know how I was just like, I don't know how that works. And then I immediately, when I saw this scene, I was like, right. Yeah, so like, actually, I'm the stupid one. I actually am stupid. It's okay, but like we got it there. So we now know that Derek is his next target, and that he's actually targeting not just Holly, but actually all these kids that are around her age range, similarly to Will when he was taken, because he was in the same age range. While Holly is taken, she lives in Henry's home, and he keeps her in an illusion rather than the reality of the Upside Down that Will endured. So he's actually keeping them in what we find out later as memories. He's actually keeping them within his memories. That's why he looks the way he wants to, because he's actually trapping them within memories. And the memory of his house is where he chooses to home Holly. Whereas Will just got straight up upside down. Like, Will got straight up upside down, Demogorgons it all, you know. He got to experience the real thing. Henry tells Holly that she must never go into the woods or the monsters will get her. He tells her that she'll have the house all to herself because he has some errands to attend to. And mind you, Holly looks very similar to Henry's little sister that we had seen in the flashbacks within season 4. Specifically just the blonde hair and the pigtails, and even how he's like letting her wear his sister's clothes from the memory. It just seems a little bit crazy, especially the scene where she's like dressing up in him. I'm just like, right. So like, what's going on with the like why Holly first? because she looked like your sister. Cut back to Elle and Hopper where they were breaking down the wall. They actually hide while the military guards actually go up to the wall. And we see them look at the wall with very casual eyes. They're not really surprised by it. They know it. They are even like peeing on it. They have like no respect for it. So like they know what it is and they're like, they don't care. While they're there, they're actually using this like frequency machine of some sort to send out this sound that only affects Elle. And we see her like writhing in pain while they're trying to stay hidden and Hopper trying to make sure that she stays silent, but she can't. And this is a really interesting reveal because we have never seen the government use any type of machine to take out Elle like this. And it begs the question of, like, when did they get this technology? How are they using it? And like, how long have they had it, you know? And that's all, you know, we have more to talk about that later, but it was just very odd because we'd never seen this before. So it was a big reveal that they had a weapon that could paralyze Elle and really eliminate her powers. But I also wonder if that technology can be used on Elle, if it can also be used on Vecna. Right, like I'm thinking, like you guys, like sometimes I'm just like thinking outside the box. Like I don't really know. Like sometimes like I'm a real watcher and I'm really thinking about like the deeper layers to this stuff, you know? Like some would say that I'm on par with like the theory channels that make theories about Stranger Things, you know? Like, do I misinterpret like every scene? Yes. Did I just admit to not knowing a very obvious allegory that they were using in the show? Yes, I did. Yes, I did admit to not realizing what was happening. Am I probably gonna do that 7 more times? Yes. But did you not come here to hang out? Like, I don't know. Like, did you not come here to like talk about shows like you would with your best friend? Like, I don't know. I thought this what we had together, but we're, you know, my apologies, man. Hopper takes out one of the guards and uses the grenades to take out the rest. He shoots down the satellite or whatever speaker that is putting out this frequency that is paralyzing Elle, and Elle regains her strength and easily takes out the remaining guards. This leads them to taking one of the guards and actually interrogating him for information. Hopper wants to interrogate the guard to figure out when their next convoy is so that they can actually get out of the Upside Down and use the convoy to exit. Whereas Elle wants to find out more about the wall and what they know about the wall and what they're even doing down here. They come up with a compromise and Hopper interrogates the guard and Elle scopes through his mind to find out what the information is. They find out about a military base that's actually within the Upside Down, where they're taking things that they find from the Upside Down, creatures, plants, and more, and experimenting on them and finding out what they do or what their purpose is in the Upside Down. And we also get a little bit more insight on Dr. K, which seems to be the head of the mission, kind of like Sigourney Weaver in Avatar. Like, she's running the show and she's doing all the experiments and leading all the missions and telling the guards to go search the grounds for more things. What they find out while going through the guard's mind is that the military has someone captured, and Elle says that they have Vecna. So Elle and Hopper now have a mission to go into the military base to get to Vecna to kill him.
The military. They have him.
In the Right Side world, so not the Upside Down, we have the rest of the groups reunite. So that's Steve, Dustin, Jonathan, Joyce, Nancy, Mike, Robin, Will, and Lucas. Will explains to them how he's able to tell that Derek is going to be the next victim of Vecna. So they want to save Derek, right? But they can't save Derek without intervening with Derek, because how Vecna is tracking them is through their vision, because he infiltrates their mind and uses that and their vision to see where they are and to how he's able to track them, basically. So what they want to do to save Derek is to kidnap him and blindfold him, so then Vecna is basically blind to where he's at. They come up with a plan to put Derek and his family to sleep with sleeping pills. They want the Demogorgon to go to the house because even if they're asleep, they will still know that they're there because it's Derek's house. And they want to set up a trap to kill the Demogorgon and save Derek. Yay. Back to Holly in Henry's home. She's exploring the home. She finds like a Boy Scout's uniform and the doorbell rings, and she goes to answer it, except she finds no one, but she does see that the mailbox has mail. the little thing is up. So then she goes to check the mail, and it actually says to go find the X on the map, and it's marked from Henry. Holly has troubles with the letter she reads, and she's basically like, Henry told me not to leave. Why would he tell me to leave it and then leave this letter? I'm so confused. And then she holds on to her little Holly the heroic figurine and goes on a mission out into the woods to figure out what is going on. Back to Derek's mission, Mike and Lucas go recruit Erica because they need an in to Derek's house. And Derek is actually the little sister of Tina, who we've seen referenced in many seasons of Stranger Things. They want Erica to go to the house and drug them so that they all fall asleep. Everybody in the right side world works together to save Derek, and they're all training and getting everything ready. Like, they've done this before. Like, they know how it goes. They know what to do with a Demogorgon. Like, and while they're training, Jonathan and Murray have a conversation, and I was so confused about this conversation because it's Murray being like, you just have to get it over with and do it, and I know you, like, he's saying all this stuff, and I was like, is he talking about sex? Like, what the hell is he talking about? I really thought he was talking about sex. And then at the end of the conversation, once Murray leaves, Jonathan opens a cassette tape case, and in it is a ring. And I don't really know if it's alluding to Jonathan proposing to Nancy. I really don't believe that is what they're alluding to. I think it's like a misdirect. I think some of the theories that I've been seeing is that it's actually a ring that he's holding for Hopper to propose to Joyce, which would make a lot more sense timing wise, pacing wise, and overall like story wise, and what really makes sense for the end of the season. Jonathan and Nancy being engaged doesn't really give as an emotional of an impact as Joyce and Hopper does, especially because Joyce and Hopper have been these parental figures to all of the kids, and them like joining together like that would just like be a very good ending, you know, if everybody survives, like, you know, fingers crossed if everyone survives, you know. So on the mission to Derek's house, Erica goes to his house and apologizes to his older sister for some fallout that they had, and brings a spiked pie to drug the entire family. Like, I just want to give a big ol' shout out to Derek because I really liked him. I really did love him. I also love that when the like promotional posters came out for Stranger Things, everybody was like, who the fuck is Derek? Like, who is that? Why does he have a promotional poster? He's quickly become one of my favorite characters because his lines are just very unexpected. I thought he was going to be more of a like sweet little kid like Dustin or something, and he's just like kind of a menace and kind of chaotic and kind of like crude and kind of crazy. Just loved all his lines. Loved the room probably stunk because of all of his farts.
Probably from all my farts.
I loved Mom Can Suck a Fat One.
Mom can suck a fat one.
I loved Fatty McFat, like
Fatty McFat fat.
just really awful things to say, and I just loved it that it came from a little boy in a rainbow sweater. Like, I loved it. I just wasn't expecting it, and he made the best out of his few lines, and they really stuck with me. Like, Mom Can Suck a Fat One. Like, I just like really have never heard those words strung in a sentence like that. The spike pie works on the entire family. Erica ends up having to inject Tina because she doesn't want to eat the pie. The family members are all taken away, and they start getting to work on a trap for the Demogorgon. They cut this poor family's entire living room up. They break through the entire living room floor and make a fall through living room for the Demogorgon. There's a huge ball of barbed wire in the basement that they set him up to fall into. There's also tripwires everywhere, and like a like Three Stooges ass like mechanism of nails on a board that's gonna swing into the Demogorgon's face once he trips the wire. They really set this place up. Will, Robin, and Joyce are in charge of the sleeping family members to make sure nothing happens to them, and they hide them away so that the Demogorgons don't find them. Will and Joyce have another heart-to-heart where they're talking, and Joyce just basically says like, it was my fault that you got taken, like you got taken and I didn't know you were gone for like 8 hours, like I didn't even know like that you were not there when I got home from work. And she talks about the guilt that she has. And there's also a little point here where she says, how does a mom not know that her 11-year-old son went missing? Which I don't know if it's a mistake, but it was actually 12 when he got taken away. And they're throwing a lot of things within these first 4 episodes of either like mistakes or just little like Easter eggs for something later to come. And she also makes this reference of him putting on a jacket, she tells him like, where's your jacket? And he's like, oh, it's in the barn, which is something small, but I think it's like purposeful. I mean, everything is like purposeful with Stranger Things, and I think that it's supposed to allude to something of the dark side going on, you know? The Demogorgon reaches Derek's room to find a dummy that they laid out in the bed for him. All their traps worked until they didn't. He was in the barbed wire, and then he got shot, and then he just ran away and he flipped to the upside down. It flipped! But the thing is that Nancy shot it with a tracker bullet. So she put a tracker in it, so now they can track the Demogorgon in the upside down. Back to Holly. Holly searches the woods and ends up coming across this wall, this kind of like canyon almost. It's like a, you know, this like orangey rock wall that we see of a cave. And who she finds is not Henry, but it is none other than our goat, our absolute favorite person ever. It's Max.
Hi.
It's freaking Max. I was just so excited to see her again. I was really so excited to see her up and talking again, because the thing is that not only is she gonna be like, not only is her character such vital, you just like also couldn't have Max be in a coma for like 7 episodes, right? Like you had to give us Max within the first 4 episodes, or like something horrid would happen to the Duffer Brothers soon, you know? Like you had to give us something of her speaking and seeing what she thinks of after all this time and what the hell happened to her. And we'll get into that in the 4th episode, because that was the end of episode 3. I really liked episode 3. I think compared to episode 1 and 2, I really liked episode 3. I liked seeing them work together, and I liked seeing the trap, and I liked seeing more of the plot coming together, because I think in the first 2 episodes, you're still kind of like, okay, Stranger Things. It's like the thing when you watch Stranger Things and you're like, okay, like whatever that means, like whatever that means. And then it all starts coming together and you're like, right. Like I thought you lost me for a second. Like you lost me for a second and now I'm back. Because specifically the first episode, because the first episode is like information overload of like everything that we have to catch up on, because it's been so long within their world and our world that I'm like, okay, now what are we doing? Now what the hell are we doing in this world? So now we're back in the real world, the right side world. We're with Joyce, Will, Robin, Erica, Barn, Derek family. The whole family's asleep except for Derek. Derek somehow wakes up and takes off his blindfold and calls Joyce an evil child kidnapper, right? Derek claims that he knows about the monsters and that Mr. What's-It told him all about it. And basically that like, Derek gets out of his restraints. And not only does he body Joyce, right? Like, okay, like she's a mother, right? But I mean, I've seen Joyce do some crazy things over the past 4 seasons, and he completely bodies her. And let's just say it was because she was like surprised. She didn't think he was gonna do that. Then he bodies Will, Robin, and Erica. And not to mention the stuff he does later on in this episode, but that was like, how strong is this little boy? He outruns them to the ladder, gets up on the ladder, pushes the ladder down, and now they can't get him. I said, how did this little boy do that to you? Will, I thought you were better than this. Like, Will, I thought you had some more strength built up over the years than this. The thing is that what's crazy is that like, why was 11 the only one training for this like so-called battle happening? Because in every single instance, every single season, all of the characters have had to do something quite physical that they kind of weren't prepared for. So in my opinion, it's kind of strange that we get to season 5 and Ella's the only one training physically for it. Like, obviously, like she would need to train more because she has powers and is just overall stronger than everybody else. But it's like mind-boggling to me that like everybody wasn't hitting the gym, because it's like, yeah, like, granted, we don't think you're going to be the target of it, but like every single season, someone's had to do something very physically exerting, whether that's a physical fight with another human or wielding a weapon to kill a Demogorgon or any of the sorts. Everybody always has to do something. It just seems weird that nobody else was putting in the hours in the gym, especially Will. especially Will. The Demogorgon reaches them in the barn because Derek took off his blindfold, so then Vecna knew where they were. Will's like antenna Bluetooth connects to the Demogorgon, and he starts seeing through the Demogorgon's eyes as it's luring over Joyce. And then Steve runs over the Demogorgon, and Will gets like yeeted to the side and like falls over as well, showcasing that Will doesn't only have a mental connection to Vecna and the Demogorgons, but also a physical one as well. The Demogorgon runs away and ends up going through another opening to the Upside Down, and Steve suggests that they can run their car through the Upside Down and survive, and it ends up working. So now we have two teams in the Upside Down. We have Elle and Hopper, and then we have Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, and Dustin. And then in the right side world, we have Mike, Will, Joyce, Robin, and Erica, and Lucas. And then in the dream world, we have Holly, Henry, and Max. So we have about 4 different things going on right now. Joyce can't make contact with Nancy and Jonathan, and Will is working on something in the barn and starts drawing something. He draws something that he states that Vecna wants. It ends up looking like a butt. So I don't really know what that's supposed to mean, but it ends up looking like a big butt. And Will starts explaining what he's seen, what Holly's role in it, and that there's 3 more kids in Vecna's grasp, because the thing that he saw was the same thing that happened to him, where Vecna put his little like tentacle hand on his mouth and was able to like feed off of them. I don't really know what he was doing to Will at that point, or infiltrating their mind, and he was doing that to 3 other kids and Holly. But we know where Holly is. She's actually in Henry's house. So in her little thing of her being like with the hand on her mouth, she's also that she's experiencing in the Upside Down and being held captive in her brain. She's just in the house that Henry promised that he would take her to. They try to figure out what kids Vecna is going to target next, and they start thinking about the 12 kids that are in Derek and Holly's class. Then we cut to the military base with Dr. K stating that there's over 72 children between the ages of 10 and 12 in Hawkins, and they start rounding up all the children to be observed so they can catch Vecna. They basically want to catch whoever's coming for these children and causing their disappearance. And the military is basically doing the same thing that our group was doing with Derek, except they don't have nearly as much knowledge as they do because they don't have Will, so they don't understand how Vecna's actually tracking them, how he's locating them, or what's going on, because all the kids not blindfolded while they're being rounded up in the military base. Vecna knows where they are. A right side world group comes up with a plan to save the kids from the government. They want to send Derek in and basically create a underground tunnel for all the children to escape. Now back to Max and Holly. Max tells Holly that she's sorry for scaring her, and that the note actually wasn't from Henry, it was actually from Max, because Max knew that Holly wouldn't have come out into the woods if it was from Max. Max takes Holly to her home, which is the cave. She goes in and it's just all set up with a bunch of stuff in there. She's living in these caves. And Max reveals that the world they're in is actually just a vault of memories, of Henry's memories specifically. Max tells Holly that every victim Vecna takes, he opens a new gate. So when he took Max, he opened up the 4th and final gate. This is what basically creates this wall around Hawkins that makes it so that the Demogorgons can escape no matter where they're at. They can just like hit a wall and leave, because Hawkins is basically surrounded now by these gates because Max was the final gate that was open. Holly asks how she's not dead, and Max says that she was dead for a moment, but then something was calling to her. Max recalls that she woke up in the Rainbow Room when Henry had left the massacre. She then enters Hawkins High from a different time, where we see a young Joyce in 1959. She explored these memories from Henry's mind. Max says that she's been trying to escape but keeps getting lost in the maze of Henry's mind. Max then says, "Then I heard her, Kate Bush."
I heard Kate Bush.
Is she one of your friends?
You could say that.
She starts hearing running up that hill again and goes to find where it's coming from. It was from the music that Lucas was playing for her in the hospital. She states that she thought Lucas was guiding her back home, but then it all went wrong.
And I was so close that I could feel his hand on mine.
She was basically going through all of her memories that Vecna had been a part of, because she's in Vecna's mind prison of some sort, so she's going through her own memories that she was a part of from Vecna. She was searching for a way out, and Henry trapped her in her worst memories that he was a part of. Max states that she found a way out through the night that Henry killed her. Her only way out was through Lucas's connection of him playing Kate Bush for her at the hospital. But in real life, the song ended and the gate closed, leaving her within this memory and Vecna finding her within that memory. He chased her through all the memories trying to find her, and then she ended up at the cave. She gets to the cave and he stops and he doesn't go towards her, leaving her there and not going any further. She states that he seemed scared and upset that she was in there, but that he wouldn't cross that line. She doesn't know what he was scared of or what the significance of that cave is, but she stayed there and figured out that this was the way that she was going to be able to survive. Max tells Holly that she had figured out a new way out once Holly entered this memory prison. And Max tells Holly that the only way that she's going to be able to get both of them out is if Holly goes back to the house and pretends that she never saw Max. In the Upside Down, Elle and Hopper find the military base and come up with a plan to break in. Dustin also makes contact with Hopper and says that he is at the wall. They think that they're at the wall at the same location that Elle and Hopper were at when they found it, but actually they're on the complete opposite side of the town, which then states how big this wall actually is. And the thing that Dustin finds out about the wall is that it's actually a circle surrounding where they're in Hawkins, and that it obviously aligns with the right side up world. And he says that the center of the circle is the key to finding Holly and the other kids. Supposedly. In the right side up world, Derek goes to the military base to turn himself in. He ends up making contact with the group and their plan continues on. Basically, their plan was for Derek to find anyone else in the class that had been talking to Mr. Whatsit and telling them that if they go to the bathroom and go in the tunnels that they will find Mr. Whatsit. And his job is to round them up and like send them in one by one so that the guards don't notice what's going on. Now, you know, I have to talk about Robin and Will and the conversation that they have while they're under the tunnels going towards the military base. She starts talking to him about her first ever crush that we had seen her mention in season 3 while talking to Steve about her crush on Tammy. She details how badly her unreciprocated crush was and how she tied a lot of her value and her sexuality to the crush on the person rather than valuing herself outside of that. She opens up to Will about even though her first crush didn't love her, the only thing that she needed to find was herself within that journey, and that was actually more important than anything else. And it was actually a really wonderful scene between two characters, and I was really excited to see again people opening up and talking to Will in this manner, because I feel like we got a lot of that within the second season, especially when he comes back from the dead and he's really outcasted and scrutinized and isolated for this unusual experience that he's having. And I think that in the second season, you get a lot of like allegories to a lot of things about sexuality and how he feels isolated and alone and shameful and scrutinized for a lot of things and how othered he feels. And I like that in season 5, we get a really more upgraded version of that where it's not really allegories. We're really talking about sexuality, and someone that sees what he's going through really reaches out and connects to him in that manner. I think it was a really wonderful scene and I really liked it. Obviously with this conversation also comes a lot of people talking about Mike and Will. This has been a huge ship since like the first season. Well, really the second season is where Byler really becomes like a really huge thing and really takes over the Stranger Things fandom. And this really comes to the full center of the story, especially when you have scenes where they're directly romantically talking about relationships, and we're directly seeing the glances from Will when he's watching Mike and 11, or when we're hearing Mike say, it's not my fault you don't like girls. Like, it's like now where it's becoming a little bit more obvious, to where it's like everybody in the room kind of knows what's happening, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what they're gonna do with the end of the season. I see a lot of people on either sides. I see a lot of people saying that, like, no, they're not gonna make Mike romantically interested in Will, and that they're gonna keep Mike and 11 together. I see a lot of people saying that they're ramping up for a Mike and Will love plot. I really don't know, but what I can say is from the seasons that I've seen, I really haven't seen Mike showcase a love like that towards Will in the same way that Will is showcasing an interest in that towards Mike. But maybe it's going to be a big plot twist. Maybe it's going to be this big reveal that, like, Mike develops romantic feelings towards Will. I don't know. But the thing is that it's kind of this catch-22 now, where it's like, if you do one thing, you upset the other, and then if you do that thing, you upset the other side. It's like, it's very much like you kind of lose, win both ways, whether you end up keeping Elle and Mike together or creating something new with Mike and Will. I don't really know what's gonna happen. I'm not putting myself in any hot water so someone can say,
We told you so. We told you that Mike and 11 were gonna stay together. We told you that Mike and Will were gonna.
I'm not getting into this mess of that. You guys can figure that ones out on yourself. There's a lot of things I can do, but honestly with this, I really don't know where they're gonna go with it, especially after the end of this season and kind of the things that they've been alluding to. And you know, even the conversation with Robin and Will, it seems like they're kind of setting up for him to kind of accept this unreciprocated love almost. It almost alluded to Mike being Will's Tammy, and I see a lot of people saying that's like not the case, and I see a lot of people, like, everybody has their own opinions on it. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna kill Will. If we really want to talk about it, I don't think there's going to be a romance ending at the end of the season, because I think they're going to kill Will. I don't know. That's my thought, is that I think he's going to this, like, you know, at the end of this episode where he ends up, I think they're just going to kill him. Like, maybe he has to die to save the world, you know? Someone's got to. Like, at this point, someone has got to die to save the world, and it can't be Eddie again. Like, we don't have another Eddie to kill off, so who are we going to kill? Vicky? Come on. So Elle and Hopper finally reach the inside of the military base, and they reach the door that she had seen in the guard's mind where she believed that Vecna was being held. Once they reach it, the military turns on her kryptonite, the frequency that paralyzes her and puts her in immense pain, and she can't use her powers. The military guards close in on Elle and Hopper, and Dr. K finds Elle. Hopper fights off all the men only to be caught by one of the tentacle monsters that Dr. K had been testing on. Dr. K interrogates Hopper in a similar fashion to how he interrogated the military guard earlier on in the season. Elle really pushes through whatever this frequency pain is and stabs Dr. K in the arm long enough for Hopper to break from the creature's grasp. Hopper knocks out Dr. K, of course, and he tells Elle to go find Nancy and the others. He says that he's going to open up the door, which they are assuming is Vecna behind the door, and he says that he's going to end it. His jacket is unzipped a little and reveals to Elle and the audience that he actually has explosives that have been strapped to him the entire time. He calls it his failsafe, and then he tells her how proud he is of her and that he, like, will always love her, and the last thing he says to her is, "I love you, Jane." I don't know. They couldn't really do this again after they already killed him once, so I didn't really have any fear that he was going to pass away, but, you know, that was me. I mean, maybe they might, like, you know, plot twist me and kill him off just for me even thinking that someone was safe because they already died once. Like, maybe I'm the sucker. Like, maybe that's me too. I don't know. But I was like, he is not dying. Like, it was a really sad scene though. When she sees that he's on, like, a suicide mission, it was really sad. She was like, no. Like, it was just like, it was really sad. I was I was getting a little emotional. Now on the right side group of Joyce, Will, Mike, Lucas, Murray, Erica, Robin, they finally get to the point to meet Derek and help all the kids escape. He sends the classmates in one by one, and all of them have met Henry, and so then they send them into the bathroom to go escape. Robin and Murray take a batch of kids to the truck that they have set up to go away in, and then Lucas also takes a batch of kids as well. So it's Joyce, Mike, Will that are still at the point. Some girl tattles on Derek, and Derek ends up going to the bathroom where the secret tunnel is, and Derek holds the door with a slippery floor while a military guard tries to open it. I was like, Derek has got some like supernatural strength or something, because like he really is able to do a lot. Like he's really able to hold his own with these adults. He's just like super strength or something. And then it's like Mike, Will, and Derek holding this door back from these two military guards. I'm like, 2 military guards can't open the door with two teenage boys and a little boy? New army, new military at this point. Come on, guys. Like, be serious. Like, can you be serious right now? Like, it's actually pissing me off. Mike, Will, Joyce, Derek, and this like mystery girl, like poor little girl, like she almost made it out and now she's like stuck with all these guys. She's like, okay, like what the heck did I do? And they get taken by the military in the right side up world. The only thing that happens though is when they're taking our group into custody, the Demogorgons show up. The military fight and fail, dying one by one, and gates start opening not only by Robin and Murray while they're driving off, but also by Lucas, blocking his path and releasing more Demogorgons to go after the kids that they have. Joyce and the boys are surrounded by Demogorgons, and the guards burn the Demogorgons with fire, and all the Demogorgons, even the ones by Lucas and Robin, fall because they're all like linked. Hive mind, you know. And Will screams in pain as he's attached to the other Demogorgons as well. And while this is all happening, Mike also spots a figure coming out of the gate that opened by the military base. What's happening in the upside down military base is Hopper comes out of the room that he just went in on a suicide mission to, unharmed. He's completely fine. He tells Elle to go in there, and what she finds is her sister, 8, aka Callie. And this is the big reveal that they have been experimenting on 8. They were using 8 as a way to get to Elle, and that's how they developed the technology to enable Elle's power, is by torturing 8. Again, this begs the question, if it works on 8 and Elle, it might work on Vecna. Right. And that was the big reveal for Elle this season, and it was a really heartwarming scene to see them together, and I'm really excited to see where they go with 8. I do think she might die though, and I do think that might send Elle into a very big rage, because I just don't think they have enough time to really flesh out her character in a way that keeps her alive, in my opinion. Like, I don't want her to die, no, but it's like almost too late to like reintroduce her and have her have a fully fleshed out character, when I think once Vecna knows that they have 8 and that that's one more person on Elle's team and Elle's side, because like Elle got him once, Elle got him twice, like she just keeps getting him, and then she has another person that has some sort of ability like that, like he's over. You're so over. So I think he's going to like immediately go after 8 if he finds out that she's alive. Vecna comes out of the upside down. He walks, he struts into the room, no belly. Where'd his Grinch belly go? He has a skinny little waist. I miss when he had a belly. I don't know why that was a new thing that they decided to do. I don't really know why they gave him a belly in the first place. You know, that's what I think. That's another thing, is that he kind of looks like that because when Elle destroyed him the first time, she like evaporated all of his skin off of him, and that's why he has so many exposed tendons and things. But like, why a belly? Like, Jamie Campbell Bower plays him, and like Jamie Campbell Bower doesn't have a belly. Like, I won't judge if he does, but like it was weird. Like Vecna in like season 4 has like a Grinch belly, and now in season 5 he's like really skinny, which I guess makes more sense, you know, in comparison with the actor that plays Vecna, like Henry. Like that makes more sense. But it's like, what was he doing over the summer? like working out. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so the guards shoot him and fail, and they fire him and they fail, and Vecna just massacres the whole place. He's resurrecting Demogorgons. He's massacring the guards. Like, he's like, this is child's play. If you don't have the little girl that can control things with their mind, then like, don't talk to me. Like, actually don't talk to me. And this is where we see all the groups really at their lowest. You see the truck with Robin and Murray is under attack by 3 Demogorgons. You see Lucas and his kids are under attack as well. You see Mike and Will in the group trying to run away and try to make an escape. And we really see all 3 groups that are being attacked by Demogorgons really step up in their own ways. You see, I mean, Robin and Murray trying their best to save the kids, if driving them away, you know, that's their way of saving them. And you see Mike really leading all the kids, and he's telling them to keep their eyes on him. And I just loved seeing Mike in this role, because I feel like it's been a while since we've seen, especially because of last season, it's been a while since we've seen Mike step up in this way, and it was really interesting to see him in that way. And with Lucas as well, seeing Lucas lead all the kids and step up to save them, even though he knew it was impossible to save them from a Demogorgon. Like, there was nothing that he could really do. Seeing him really step up in front of them to try to save them was amazing, and I loved seeing them both do that. Vecna spots Will and brings him to him, and he asks Will if he sees the children. Vecna states how the children are the perfect vessels, how they're weak of body and weak of mind. Vecna says that Will was the first and that he showed him what was possible. Vecna says some minds do not belong in this world, they belong in mine. And the Demogorgons end up taking the children from all the groups. They end up taking them from Lucas and Robin and Murray, and it was really sad to see them, because Lucas got hit down by the Demogorgon, and then all the children got taken into the Upside Down. It was very, very sad. And while Vecna is holding Will starts having flashbacks of his childhood and all these great sacred memories that he has. Like, side note, bowl cut since birth. Like, Joyce, how long have you been doing that bowl cut? He came out of the womb and she put that bowl on his head to do a freaking bowl cut. He's bowl cut since birth. His flashbacks and his greatest memories are paired with Robin's monologue, and it was really quite a stunning scene. And if you remember in the 2nd season, when they're trying to get through to Will, they talked to him about specific memories and trying to get him back to himself. These are actually the memories that are showed within this montage when Vecna has him. Vecna ends up just walking through the gate, leaving them, drops Will, and he's like, bye, like maybe see you later, but probably not. And the Demogorgons go to kill Robin, Murray, Lucas, they go off to kill everybody. And Will suspends the Demogorgon mid-air, and simultaneously the Demogorgon that goes to attack Lucas in a completely different location he suspends that one in mid-air too. And then he does the same thing with Robin and Murray's Demogorgon. And he's holding all the Demogorgons at the same time in different locations, because he can see through the Demogorgon's eye, so he's able to see what they're doing and when they're about to attack. And he suspends all of them in midair, and he destroys all the Demogorgons. Like, Will evolved. In some sort of way, he evolved. And everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, did Vecna just give him that ability, or like what? Like, what the fuck just happened? And that's how volume 1 ends. And it just leaves you with so many questions. I mean, is Will going to be an asset towards the group? Is he going to be a villain? Is he going to have this dark side come out? Because at the end of the day, him being attached to the Mind Flayer and Vecna and having that sort of like connection could be beneficial, but also could be negative, and he could be used as a tool. He also could be this sort of connection that keeps Vecna alive. He could be this like added source for Vecna to be able to keep going on, because he has this sort of connection. And maybe that's why he's connecting to all the kids, because he's using them as these vessels of life support. Like, he's basically living through them, because if they continue on, he continues on. And that's why Will is still alive, not because he wanted him to be alive or stay alive, but because he's using him as this like extra vessel, and somehow their lives are tied to each other. And I don't even want to mention like a Harry Potter, but I just have to because it's what I was thinking of, is that maybe Will is kind of like the Horcrux for Harry Potter. Maybe like he's like Vecna's Horcrux that like needs to be destroyed in order to destroy Vecna, and their lives go hand in hand together. And maybe Will is on the dark side. We really see a lot of people comparing the way that Elle uses her powers and the way she uses her hand versus how Will does it. Will goes upside down, Elle goes like this. And also we see Will's eyes sort of in this cloudy, hazy effect when he's doing the power, which is also really similar to when Max is being possessed, how her eyes roll to the back of her head and how they were like almost cloudy. But people are saying that they're going to have to blind Will. They're going to have to take out his eyeballs or blind him so that Vecna can't use him as a way to see what they're all up to. Could be possible. Could be possible. I don't know. And another thing I'm curious about is that Will is almost kind of like connected mentally and physically with the Demogorgons and with the Mind Flayer and whatever. And we see this depicted in the first 4 episodes quite often, with the Demogorgons being burned and him feeling that immense pain, or the Demogorgons getting hit by a car and him falling down, and them having this kind of synchronized effect and how they're kind of tied to each other. But then when he destroys the Demogorgons, when he decides to destroy them, he does not feel any effects from it, and obviously he doesn't destroy himself. So I wonder where that link ends and begins, and where it's mentally linked and where it's physically linked, and if the two can be separated or paused, because the physical link was separated in that moment. He was able to destroy them without feeling anything. But before, he was feeling the full effects, just like how the Demogorgons are linked. So did Vecna do something to him? Does Vecna know that Will was developing powers? Did Vecna know that by doing all this, Will was developing powers, and he wants to use Will as this sort of puppet in this season? He wants to puppeteer him. Master of Puppets used in season 4. Maybe that's it. Because I think that's what I really want to know the most, is if like Vecna is even aware of this. If Vecna knew that when he walked off that Will's powers were already evolving and he was going to be able to stop all the Demogorgons. Because in my opinion, if Vecna knew that Will had those powers, I think that makes complete sense why he would walk away, because he knows that they're not going to kill him, because he's not going to let it happen. And one of the biggest theories running with this season that came out long before this season even dropped was that Elle was actually the one that opened the door that let the Demogorgon into the house where Will was in the very first episode of the series. Which would be crazy. Like, Elle, why did you do that? Like, Elle, why did you do that? Maybe that realization for Mike is why he ends up going to be romantically involved with Will. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I never really have theories about what's going on. I usually just tag along to other people's theories because I just get embarrassed when my theories don't turn out right. It's not even the fact that I can't think of them. Like, I can think of theories. Anyone can think of theories. They're just theories. I just get really embarrassed when none of mine ever work out. I've never had a correct theory. I really like this season. I'm interested to see where Will's character goes for many different reasons, relationship-wise and power-wise, in this evolution of his powers and his connection to the Mind Flayer and how that all ends up working out. Noah was really flipping me out during this season. I think in some ways he had moments where he was really good, and then some moments where he really wasn't. Like, there was some where he was like, oh, like that's the Will from the first season coming out. And then there was some scenes where I was like, wait a second, what happened? Like, where'd the oomph go? What happened? He was like a little inconsistent for me, which is something that I'm not really used to, especially after getting used to him kind of being like a little bit of a background character within, not a background character, but not as a vital main character within the past 2 seasons. Everybody in the cast, I'm really excited to see where Holly and Max end up going, and I'm really excited to see how they decide to break out, because Max really didn't say anything about how they're gonna break out. She was just like, you have to go back. Like, you just have to go back and that's it. I think Elle will come out of the Upside Down with 8 and Hopper. She's gonna meet back up with Will and be like, there is something all messed up with you. I think she's gonna be like, it's bad news here. Like, it's bad news central here. Like, don't trust him. And she's gonna be like, that's why I opened up the door in the first season, because he's fucking crazy. Like, he was a little boy, but he's fucking crazy. You know, maybe, I don't know. Like, there's so many things that could happen, guys. I don't know. Like, Steve, Dustin, Jonathan, they were all kind of fine. They weren't really doing much for me. I liked Mike this season. I did like him a lot more than I had in last season. A lot of people were not liking Robin. They were saying, like, she was giving lobotomy Robin. I think that a lot of people think that they just, like, bumped up her, like, ditzy, scatterbrained, like, personality too much for this season. They kind of like made a caricature out of it, I guess, but they kind of all have that like ranting. I don't know. I think just because I watched all of the seasons recently, like they all have those moments. They all have it. Like Joyce was scatterbrained in the first, like they all have these really crazy moments. And I think that, and I don't really have an issue with Robin. I don't even have an explanation for it or if it's like technically all right, because I just didn't have an issue with it. It was not bothering me. I don't know, I expected it. And I thought she had some sincere moments. I thought a lot of the characters had a lot of great sincere moments. Specifically, I would say I really liked like Robin and Will's, and I did like Mike's sincere moments through the season. I think he has a lot of good little talks with everybody. He has a talk with Holly, he has a talk with Elle, and he has a talk with Will, and I think all of those scenes were really good. And I really loved Nancy's scene in the hospital. She doesn't really shine to me in the other episodes, really. I mean, other than her, like, you know, beaten down and, like, being the sharpshooter she is. But other than the hospital was like, I was like, wow, she did a really standout scene in that. And I really loved her in that moment. On a technical side of things, I mean, this show is beautiful. I mean, no show is doing it like Stranger Things. And the thing is that, like, honestly, I think that some people have just gotten used to how great Stranger Things is like storytelling, cinematically, the way that they're able to pair music with the scenes and how they're really able to create such epic moments. I think people have gotten so used to it that they're not really surprised by them anymore. But I want to give a shout out to that because that was amazing as always. I mean, these episodes are an hour long each, I think, maybe a little over. And the last episode of volume 1 was an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes. I mean, these are like full-fledged like movies that they're pushing out. And I just, on the craftsmanship side of things, it's just stunning. I mean, it really is. Like, there is really no other show doing it like Stranger Things. And I'm really nervous to see what has to take Stranger Things' spot, because there has to be a show in the world producing epic content like Stranger Things, and I just don't want it to end, because I don't want that like hole in my heart to stay empty. I want someone to make something as good as Stranger Things. Like, does anybody want to make something as good as Stranger Things? I don't know. It's going to be a crazy Christmas. Leave down all your theories. You know I don't have that many theories, but I am very, very excited to see where they go. I think my biggest theory is that they're gonna have to take the government's military equipment and the frequency machine that they're using to disable Elle's powers and use that on Vecna and maybe even Will. I think that's what they're gonna have to do. I really hope we don't have like a big like team up with the government type move. I really hope we don't have that, because we have actually been so anti that within the past Stranger Things seasons. I really hope we don't have like a we're teaming up with the government in season 5 moment. Like, we don't have to do that. We can steal the equipment. Let's just steal it. Or maybe they're gonna go back to Dust. I think they're gonna use the radio tower in some ways and maybe like mass blast that frequency to disable Vecna and at least his telekinesis powers. At least that. I mean, it's got to disable something else too. And the cave has got to mean something. Maybe they'll like try to push Henry into that cave, and maybe that's his prison. Maybe if he goes in the cave, he can't get out, and then maybe they can search his memories again and find a way out. I really don't know. I really don't know how they're gonna get out of there. Maybe a different Kate Bush song, like Army Dreamers or something. Maybe that will get them out. I have no idea. I have no idea who's gonna die. The only strong inkling I have is Will, but I just think that they won't kill him after all the saving we've done for his character. I think that would be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people if Will died, but if he does have these powers and is turning a little evil, maybe. That's a theory. Like, he would have to die. Like, he would have to die. But the thing is that I feel like the death is not going to come at the end of the season. I think the death is going to come in the middle as a motivator for everyone to really kill Vecna. I think it's going to be like one of those like avenging the dead, the deceased, if you will. Like I think like within the next 2 episodes we're getting a death. I don't know, leave down below who you think is gonna die. Leave a comment down below who you think is gonna die. I would really love to know who you guys think is gonna die, and just leave like a single comment, because I kind of want to search through the comments and pull up a tally of who everybody thinks is gonna die and like make like a chart of who everybody thinks is most likely to die within the 2nd volume of season 5. So leave your comment down below of who you think is going to die in season 5. And I guess I will see you guys after Christmas for season 5 volume 2, the end of Stranger Things. I'm really nervous, really scared, and maybe I'll film the finale reaction and see if Netflix lets me keep that. And once again, thank you to today's sponsor, ZocDoc. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big ol' thumbs up and subscribe. Always make sure you're subscribed, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people. Big shout out to today's sponsor, ZocDoc. I hope you guys had fun chatting about Stranger Things with me, and I will see you guys in my next video.